Hey there survivors, welcome back to the First Aid Spray channel. I'm James, and today we are diving deep into the spine-chilling universe of Aliens Dark Descent. Get ready for a pulse-pounding journey as we explore the darkest corners of space, facing relentless xenomorphs and uncovering the secrets of this terrifying and lightly flawed video game. Aspects of the game. The micro. The micro of Aliens Dark Descent lies in its core gameplay as you enter a mission. It's the quick thinking you do as a massive or infinite onslaught bears down on you. It's where you take up defense or move your marines to avoid a group of xenomorphs that could trigger the next step in difficulty on a mission. The micro of this game is its greatest strength. If you position poorly or misstep, it could mean the end of your already limited marines pool. Learning to balance between progression and watching your marine stress levels is a skill you'll need to learn through playing. Even though this game has very similar mechanics to XCOM and Darkest Dungeon, it makes those mechanics its own when out on the field. From the recon's precise shot and infrared to the sergeant's reprimand attributes, the game gives you incredible agency on how to keep your marines from screaming, "Game over, man! It's game over! What are we gonna do now?" However, it would be nice to have more options for stress management other than using safe rooms and popping pills. While we're on this subject, bravery is a stat that each marine has and is only as good as your most stressed marine. It means you reduce the stress you take. However, due to it being a squad-based game that acts as a unit, the usefulness of this stat is not all that important, as the stress gain is so minimal that you'll not see any profit in increasing it. Your first few mission drops will likely be your hardest, as you won't have a PCU or psychiatric care unit to reduce your Marines' trauma levels, so be careful about who you send on your missions. If you do what I did and send a borderline and a paranoid Marine on a mission, you're going to be running for your life from one safe room to another, hoping to find an elevator back to the ARC for extraction. I do not recommend this. While playing on missions, expect to be surprised and revel in it. This game has plenty of cutscenes and twists that will keep your brain going. Each xenomorph variant introduction is epic and given its screen time well. But perhaps my least favourite part of the game in terms of missions were the stalker drones in the vents. They often caused me to wait for extended periods of time that became tedious rather than horror driven, especially when the infestation level was high and you would have xenomorphs coming from all directions. I expected the infrared goggles to fix this problem for me, so I could precise shot them in the walls, but I was let down when I couldn't do this. These are teething problems, however. The torch in this game is something else though. It's like Tindalos had a meeting about how incredibly silly the Witcher sense search mechanic has been in gaming over the last decade. It's genius. Adding a search function that only reveals a portion of the area in front of you creates an incredible amount of stress on you as a player. But it makes complete sense narratively, and I was immersed completely into the game as soon as I got access to it. I think I only used the environmental interactions in this game about 3 to 5 times, as the game heavily leans on stealth, and if you were to explode any of those barrels or light those oil puddles, you're going to invite a lot of nasty friends your way. However, the limited times I did use the environment in this game, I used them to great effect. Perhaps the best use was when during this queen fight here, where I surrounded myself in fire and let everything die while approaching me. I truly felt like an absolute badass. The macro. The macro, though, is another matter. Macro is the RPG elements when you return to base and figure out what to do with your well-earned resources. The guns don't really get exciting until you get an incinerator unit or the plasma rifle, or invest in that one-shot kill RPG launcher. Now, this game isn't really meant to be a shooter where the details on the weapons is key, but I did want more. The core skills of each class are fairly powerful, some better than others, looking at you techie, but the other attributes that you gain randomly can be problematic. Your max level is 10 for each Marine, which means you only have 10 opportunities to create a perfect or near-perfect Marine. But sometimes those rolls go against you and you create a subpar, ad hoc Marine instead. Some important common traits that you should look out for are Redemption, Unbreakable Will, Sharpshooter, Deadeye, and Team Spirit. Removing a personality trait with Redemption is incredible, as some can be crippling. After you get the ability to heal traumas and try to keep your Marines in the right stress levels, you won't really have issues with trauma other than on harder difficulties. Probably the most annoying status effect in the game is Tired. This effectively makes your Marines gain more stress, which can be a huge killer, and it gets worse, so picking up Unbreakable Will fixes that problem for us. Every Marine starts with very low accuracy and damage, so Sharpshooter and Deadeye are key attributes here, and to finish it off, command points are your resource for almost everything on missions, so extending your pool is crucial. Picking up Team Spirit for several Marines is key to a successful mission later on in the game. The customization of each Marine is fairly lackluster as well, with few options, but nothing some modders can't fix, I'm sure, as was done with XCOM. I did want for more variety and additional voice lines, but we're going to talk about that later. Lighting and visuals. Aliens Dark Descent starts with perhaps the greatest title screen I've come across in an Aliens game. The gentle scroll of the letters across the screen with the enormity of a moon next to the comparatively small station orbiting it gives you a sense of how big you are in this universe that takes no prisoners. From the beginning of this game, you're thrown into the action after a short but quite informative tutorial level, which was quite difficult in itself. For instance, I died 5 times in it, but I loved every moment. The horror elements and cinematics like the Cargo Bay 4 incident were excellently shot and directed. When thrown into the game proper, I immediately felt like I was in a very highly polished tabletop RPG map with dynamic lighting and boundaries set. It gave me a huge nostalgia bump as I took Mako Haze through Pioneer Station. The cinematics would continue to impress me as I went through the game, constantly keeping my brain running, asking questions to myself about what this could all mean and what the conclusion would be. From Praetorian and Queen reveals as well, they put time and effort into these cinematics that I appreciated. Other Alien games have lacked cutscenes and cinematics in recent years, but Dark Descent felt like I was watching an animated Aliens adventure at some points. The style lent incredibly well to the perfection of the Xenomorph, even if the dubbing was sometimes a little off. The attention to detail in this game was hard to ignore, especially when it came to lighting. The way fog interacted with your torch as you moved through it was perfect to set the scene, and there were messages and little diagrams scrawled occasionally throughout the game that told a story as well. If it's a beautiful Alien game you want, Aliens Dark Descent doesn't disappoint. Voice acting and direction. For all the praise I have of this game, there were some gaping issues with voice acting, direction, and translations. I'll compare it to the game that preceded this one, Aliens Fireteam Elite, which was excellent in all of the above. The ball was dropped in this game. Lines that were delivered awkwardly were very obvious.
Any news from Lethe, Hayes?
Sorry, sir.
Translations were terribly implemented with some names.
Ruiz!
Phrases would be oddly pronounced.
Open up, Sesame.
And some lines felt very clumsily added and lessened the impact of the scene.
Well, congratulations, Hayes, when it comes to badass you're state of the art.
Oh, the f***? It's that guy from the trailer.
Yeah, he's using a security pass. Must be one of those Guardians. Let's pay him a visit.
For reference here, by the way, that was the first time anyone in the game had seen the Guardians, including myself, the player, other than the trailers, and I was losing my mind, but Harper and the crew, they were not. Now, I don't blame anyone here really, it was probably just some lost in translation stuff. I thought all the main characters in this game did a fantastic job on 90% of their deliveries, but those anomalies are quite glaring. On top of this, you had some strange typos as well, like the character saying cryosleep, but the AI and subtitles saying hypersleep. It's not all bad, of course. The characters did deliver some top-tier lines that made me laugh, scared, or angry at them.
More of them are coming! Hold your position, Marines! Well, don't worry, Hunslet, there's no rush. It's not like we're all gonna die.
But I do want to draw some attention to the Latino roots in the USCM specifically. It has a large community of Latinos for one reason or another, and I think their culture and way of life is something that is at the heart of the USCM. I felt like we were cheated of that a little here with Dark Descent, and it could have been done better. I really loved the limited amount of Marines we were given and the method of attaining Marines, engineers, and physicians, but I would have liked some personality in these Marines. They had incredibly limited lines that you will hear hundreds of times during a playthrough. Even after a big patch on day one, where they tried to fix the VA problems, I was not connected to them in any way, and I really wanted to be. Bugs. No, not the xenomorphs, but actual video game bugs. I wanted to finish this video after the first major patch of Aliens Dark Descent, as the day one release state of the game was pretty bad. From Xenos forgetting how to break down doors, to objectives that were supposed to be persistent but weren't. Like in this example, the Montero, a ship you get to later, had the objective to turn the lights on. When I returned with another squad, the lights had turned off again. This objective was no small feat, so this was a major frustration for me, and stuff like this was happening a lot. However, the game has had a huge patch drop that fixes a lot of problems in the game. Beforehand, I was warning people to stay away until the first few patches came through, but right now the game is in a playable state, maybe not at higher difficulties, but still playable, enjoyable, and definitely worth your time. Lore. My favourite subject to talk about with Aliens Dark Descent is its lore. It lays its own down while taking huge inspiration from a number of alien materials, some you may not even heard of. In this section, I'm going to be lightly spoiling the game, as well as some recent comics, novels, and the Alien RPG. You have been warned. I first want to talk about the overall state of Alien lore right now. It's very closely attached to its timeline, something I greatly appreciate and other lore keepers of Alien do too. The canon of Alien is about as set as you'd expect it to be. It's a bit wishy-washy, however, within the past 10 or so years, there's been a great care taken to fit media within its timeline so it makes sense. This includes all the forms of recent Alien media referencing each other, a fantastic achievement that canonizes every story that's been told recently with some tie-ins to older ones too. And just to be clear, in terms of the movie canon, we count Alien, Aliens, and Alien 3 here, as well as the prequels. Alien Resurrection is so far into the current future of the Alien franchise that it can be left for now. If you follow me anywhere on social media, you know how much I love the Alien RPG from Free League Publishing. The game itself is fantastic and simple, but the lore it builds is my favourite part by far. Aliens Dark Descent takes an incredible amount of inspiration from the Alien RPG, from its maps, its motion tracker, its range systems, stress, is that going to go up? And even the positive and negative traits within the game. While playing Aliens Dark Descent, I feel like I'm playing through the Alien RPG Colonial Marines module, and I've not had that feeling before with any video game. The reason why this is incredible to me is because this was given the green light by 20th Century Studios, just like Aliens Fireteam Elite, which again brings that canon a little bit closer. And speaking of other media, this game takes little bits from all kinds of places to make Alien fans look twice. With Dr. Marlowe, for instance, I was reminded of Dr. Church from the 90s Dark Horse comics, a man who had managed to assimilate himself into a hive and survived, much like Marlowe is attempting. You have Jonas Harper, who has a hidden ability that no one quite understands. His ability is incredibly similar to the Alien Sea of Sorrows protagonist, Alan Decker, an empath. I don't want to go too deep here, so I don't want to spoil you folks, but this storyline is one of my favorite things to talk about, so if you want a video on this, let me know. Not only that, but this game, just like Aliens Fireteam Elite did, has tons of data pads and tie-ins throughout the game that just build its already deep universe, sometimes even drawing parallels to our own, like when Mako is consistently correcting Hunslet about synth rights and what they prefer to be identified by.
A buffet full of robots but no creatures to eat them? Ain't that some luck?
I think it's artificial persons now, Corporal. Maybe the critters understand they're not really alive.
Well, they're not, are they?
Come on, you know what I mean.
And finally, throughout the game, I want you to keep your eyes out for little references to the movies as well. Two of my favourites were finding a certain vehicle after a very difficult slog through an infested colony, and even seeing the Mother 6000 room from Alien to show you how old the place you were is. Oh! This is a mother room! I feel like I've spoiled maybe a bit too much here, but there is so much to discover with Aliens Dark Descent that when you play it, you won't be disappointed. And that wraps up our deep dive into the thrilling world of Aliens Dark Descent. We hope you enjoyed this video and gained some valuable insights into the game's captivating storyline and gameplay mechanics. If you want to continue discussing aliens or other intriguing horror topics, be sure to join the First Aid Spray Discord community, connect with like-minded fans, share your theories, and keep up with the latest updates in the survival horror universe. And remember, your support means the world to us. If you'd like to contribute further and help us continue creating quality content, consider becoming a patron on our Patreon page. Your generous contributions allow us to delve deeper into fascinating subjects, produce more videos, and provide you with even more engaging discussions. Thank you for watching. Put down suppressive fire to keep those xenomorphs at a distance. Stay curious, stay vigilant. Until next time, bear in mind, in space, no one can hear you scream.